They advanced in columns. The columns were mixed. They included Soviet-made BMP-1 and BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles. There were also tanks, T-64, T-72, and even a few T-80s here and there. We did not observe any more modernized tanks. They even used vehicles in their attack. To storm the position, their assault infantry got into Ural trucks. And 2 Ural trucks almost reached our position, driving right up to us. Because they're more mobile than an IFV or a tank. In the end, just like the IFVs and tanks, this vehicle was also destroyed. At least 12 enemy brigades are concentrated against our 4 brigades holding the defense here. All of these enemy units are fresh. They have been fully equipped, thoroughly trained, and thrown into battle. In contrast, our units, which have been conducting positional and active defense here for quite some time, have even achieved some successes in certain areas. Some of the personnel are trained and motivated. Others, who come from the training center, naturally lack combat experience. But those who have already been through the hell of real combat pass on their knowledge. The newcomers absorb it, learn very quickly, and gain the necessary experience. When it comes to motivation, this is where the battle over the word brother in arms likely begins. There's one rule here. You've got your brother in arms back, and he's got yours. Regardless of whether a person has undergone training at a training center or not, they participate in instructional briefings led by instructors, where they receive the full range of basic military training required. No one in our brigade gets engaged in combat actions without proper training, not only because it's illegal, but because it would result in potential casualties. This potential casualty will lead to further associated losses, because if he is wounded, others will naturally have to go in to evacuate him. And all of this will take place under heavy enemy fire. Therefore, no one needs this, and it is not an option. It is not a solution to the situation. That is why we believe it is essential to provide training, ensure that the person is properly trained, and only then assign them to the task. The enemy launched an assault. They began around 9 o'clock in the morning at one of my battalion's observation posts. And throughout that day and until evening, until dusk, a defensive battle raged. But our soldiers stood their ground. They were wounded, but no one hid in cover. Even the wounded kept fighting until dusk fell. When dusk fell, one of the soldiers, his last name is Ostashi, call sign Staken, a real hothead, to put it bluntly, said, "I'm sick of you fools." He jumped out of the trench, crawled like a scout, and threw grenades at them. There were 6 enemy soldiers there. He took them all out. He took their weapons as trophies, took their patches, and headed back. He said, "They were getting on my nerves." No matter how well trained the personnel may be,
Але
sooner or later they may suffer losses. They may be wounded,
втратитись. Його може бути поранено,
or, God forbid,
не дай Боже,
but this is war. They may be killed.
бути вбитим.
That is why we need fresh troops.
Потрібні свіжі сили. Потрібний резерв.
We need reserves.
Свіжі сили.
We need fresh troops to bring in.
Тоді оборона
And then our defense will be more resilient.
А в деяких випадках
And in some
навіть
cases, we'll even be able to launch counterattacks.
Я можу лише одне сказати, що
I'd like to add
якщо
one
ви
more
хочете,
thing. If you want to be Ukrainians, to live in a free, democratic Ukraine, an independent Ukraine,
то треба
then a choice must be made.
вибір. І цей
And
вибір
that
ви
choice must be made now.
Хотів би я
I would like to have more weapons and more troops.
більше людей.
If we have that,
Тоді все буде.
Ukraine will prevail.